welcome back to part 2 of the jury round of the Bloomberg TV Autocar India Awards 2015 presented by Reliance General Insurance.
So Renuka, we had a lot of action on the Car of the Year front last week and it continues this week with the SUVs, right?
That's right, Karthik. There was a whole bunch of cars. It was a hard choice to make and I think it's a pretty hot lineup this year. Of course, everybody's going to have to cast their votes, but before that, we do have the bike jury round this time as well. And there's been a whole host of bikes launched this year.
Yeah, I mean, through the year, we've seen close to 60 launches, including variants, new bikes, import bikes. So it's been a lot of action, but we whittled it down to the top 3, which we brought here for the jury round.
Well, they've already been at work whittling it down to the top 3. Stay tuned and find out if your opinion matches with our jurors.
Our final contenders for the Car of the Year are these trailblazing SUVs. In 2014, an Indian icon started a strong second innings, the Mahindra Scorpio. It may look familiar, but under the skin, it is almost all new. Korean brand Hyundai took a step up with their all-new flagship for India, the Santa Fe. It is handsome, spacious, well-equipped and packed with power. Merc's compact crossover, the GLA, makes no bones about the fact that it wouldn't like to get its feet dirty. But would you really mind taking it easy in the stylish and luxurious Mercedes? The third generation of BMW's X5 wants to claw back ground in a segment that it created. So BMW have made it more sporty, more luxurious and more comfy as well. The jury members were all too keen to get these gleaming SUVs nice and dirty. Brand Hyundai has a lot riding on the all-new Santa Fe. Can this SUV deliver?
Nice diesel engine, good gearbox, good interior, decent design. I say good design. Car drives well. It's not the best driving the car. It could be better, but still they're getting there.
I think it's going to be very, very comfortable on the roads. But when you go off-road and when it's lots of ruts and potholes and so on, it doesn't serve that purpose. But having said that, in our country at least, these vehicles are used for, on the highways and in the cities and so on. So it makes the ride very comfortable.
The Santa Fe's price tag also puts it on the back foot. Merc's compact SUV, the GLA, also has a high price tag. But how good an SUV is it?
It's a bit low, so you worry about stones being thrown up at it. So I don't know how much off-roading one could really do. I think even as far as its looks go, it's more soft-roader than seriously off-roader and SUV.
It does feel compact, not very spacious on the inside. But having said that, quality is not of a small car, it's of a much bigger luxury car. And really there's quality all around over here. I love the cabin, I love the way the rotary vents operate. And it's very similar to the A-Class or the CLA 45 AMG also, which we have over here. Engine, it's got the diesel, 2.2 diesel. It's fairly tractable. But I think the thing about this car is that it's more of a crossover than an SUV, and really it is more about style than substance.
Sitting at the top of the price chart in this group is BMW's spanking new X5.
Considering how bad the road was with lots of potholes and ruts and so on, it did a fine job. It kind of absorbs everything, and there is the ride is not that much compromised either. So it's comfortable inside the car. Yeah, overall it's good for the road and good off-road as well.
In a straight line, the rough sections are okay for BMW, but when you're taking a turn, the weight does carry over. So I think the dynamic control, although it's on, I used it with the dynamic control, but somehow the other, I'm not very happy with the results of the drive. It's more for a SUV, urban SUV rather than really a off-road SUV. That's the difference I find.
But it was the homegrown SUV, the Scorpio, that was under the most intense scrutiny.
The Scorpio is back, the legend is back, very much improved. It's fundamentally quite a new car because it's got an all-new chassis, and you can tell that it drives a lot better. Interiors are hugely improved from what it was before. The whole layout is simplified. You got a nice touchscreen, but still got some ergonomic flaws. Like, for example, I can't adjust my seat over here or even access the door pockets. That's quite ridiculous.
I drove the Mahindra first, found it much improved what it was originally, but it still bucks like a horse here. I think that's what Mahindra needs to rectify if the car is to do anything in off-roading.
The handling's improved considerably, the ride quality is better. It's not to say it's one of the best, it still does get tossed up a little bit at the back, especially on bad sections of road like this, but it's much better than before.
That continues to be the core, of this car. It's very good value, and that's why people are attracted to it. They trust the brand. It doesn't let you down, and that's the core proposition of this car.
Having had driven all the contenders, it was time for the jury to put pen to paper. It was a tough task scoring all the contenders. But finally, they had scored all the cars in the various categories.
Welcome back to the Bloomberg TV Autocar India jury round. The two-wheeler space is revving up, and the list of contenders for Bike of the Year has motorcycles from all walks of life. With the 150S and F, Bajaj expanded the upper end of their premium commuter family, the Discover. The stylish 150F and the simpler 150S sport 150cc motors that offer more punch while keeping the cost of commuting down. KTM's Indian onslaught was renewed with the launch of their thoroughbred sport bikes. After the 200 and 390 Duke, KTM launched the RC series of sport bikes. The KTM RC 200 and the RC 390 offer genuine sport bike experience at accessible price points. Yamaha re-energized their stalwart into the FZ16 FI version 2.0. Just about everything on the motorcycle has been reworked and improved, from design to the engine to the chassis and even the tires. Along with the FZ16, the FZS and Phaser have all been revamped as well. Finally, from Suzuki, we have the all-new 150cc motorcycle, the Gixxer. This package promises to be a solid all-rounder. And the jury team for the Bike of the Year has 3 experienced hands to pick the winner.
Hi, my name is CS Santosh and I'm a professional off-road racer. I'm also going to be the first Indian at the 2015 Dakar.
After collecting a list of titles and awards in everything from motocross, supercross and rallying, Santosh has the toughest race in the world, the Dakar, in his sights. But before that, his focus is picking the Bike of the Year.
I need to look at an overall package where a motorcycle not only feels good on the tarmac or on dirt, wherever it's meant to be, but also it needs to suit the riding conditions that this country has in particular.
Hi, I'm Rishad Cooper, two-wheeler editor at Autocar India. It's been a really action-packed year this year with the bikes. There's been about nearly 60 new bikes launched this whole year. It's really going to be an interesting Bike of the Year this year.
Rishad has been at the helm of Autocar India's two-wheeler testing and evaluation. Every scooter, commuter or sport bike has to go through his scrutiny to earn its stripes. Rishad is also the first Indian on the panel for the prestigious International Bike of the Year.
At a bike which handles well in Indian conditions, so it's got to be light handling, it's got to be quick handling. We're also looking a lot at fitness for purpose, so you need good performance, still economy and great value for money.
Hi, I'm Karthikeya Singhi. I'm Consulting Associate Editor, The Autocar Show, and my job is to bring you all the action from the two-wheeler world here in India and across the globe. Tough job, I know.
Karthikeya Singhi, our very own associate editor of the Autocar show. You often see him reviewing cars, but given a choice, Karthikeya would pick two wheels over four any day. He has tested every single bike or scooter that's been launched in the Indian market and has clocked tons of kilometers riding across the country on two wheels.
What is tough is picking bike of the year, and it gets tougher every year. More and more competitors, better and better bikes. But what doesn't change is what we're looking for in bike of the year, which is essentially a motorcycle that does what it's intended to do, what brings something a little bit extra special to its category and shakes things up.
And though there were many contenders vying for top honors, the jury members had narrowed the list down to the top three. And these were KTM's RC 390. The RC 390 offers Indian customers eye-watering levels of performance, top-notch equipment, cutting-edge design, and all this at a scarcely believable price tag. It might be closely related to the 390 Duke, but the way it handles is very, very different indeed. Now, how a hard-nosed sport bike like this fits in the Indian market is what jurors will have to find out. Next up is the Yamaha FZ version 2.0. Although quite a familiar motorcycle on Indian roads, Yamaha has reinvented the FZ. The addition of fuel injection and an extensive redesign of the engine and chassis make the FZ a more efficient and more responsive package. Overall, Yamaha has tried to inject an added dash of practicality to an exciting bike. Making it into the top three is Suzuki's Gixxer. None of Suzuki's Made in India motorcycles have quite hit the spot, but the Gixxer aims to change all of that. It follows the Yamaha FZ's hit formula in style and stance. It also boasts of a 150cc engine but packs more power, and it gets a beautifully dialed in chassis to have fun with. Suzuki have also made sure that the Gixxer's price tag makes the package sweeter still. The action for the jury round bike of the year is underway. And Yamaha's FZ has a lot to live up to in its version 2.0 avatar.
FZ has always been a top motorcycle in its class. We've always rated it very highly. Yamaha has done quite a lot on the bike. There's new styling, there's new decals, there's fuel injection, and quite a bit done. But there's still a sense of disappointment from everybody in the sense that there's no more power.
I think they've gone with the fuel injection to try and make it more efficient and more responsive as well. So I think in those aspects, yes, it is an improvement. Even though it was fuel injected, it felt like it was pulling a cart. You know, it's just a little sluggish, and the suspension again wasn't up to what I had expected it to be. It was a bit harsh, especially in the bumps that I rode through. It was a bit harsh, and it kind of felt like a steady motorcycle, but it didn't feel light and nimble, which you would want it to feel like.
With all the changes, what's happened though is that the FZ has lost some of its character. It's lost that sporting edge which made it such a big hit with the youngsters. It feels a bit dull in the way the engine performs, and well, the fact is for version 2.0 we would have expected it to take it to the next level in terms of excitement, in terms of what it offers. Yes, it has fuel injection, but is that enough?
So while the FZ version 2.0 lost some ground, would Suzuki's Gixxer rub the jurors the right way?
Now, Suzuki's been struggling when it comes to motorcycles in India. They've had like really lackluster bikes which we've never liked. Now the Gixxer comes like really as a breath of fresh air, and it's basically a clone of the FZ, which isn't such a bad thing because the FZ was always top of its game.
When I looked at the motorcycle, it was an interesting looking motorcycle. It had nice lines, well sculpted. I think it's a beautiful looking motorcycle. And as soon as I sat on the bike, again, the ego was really nice. It had good fit in terms of a rider, and the posture as well. I think was nice and upright, and it kind of felt like it would be a nice commuter motorcycle, especially in the city, since that's what it's aimed at. And I think straight away it was a good motorcycle, and I think I like the way the power delivery also was kind of nice and responsive, even though it's running a carburetor, but it still felt like there was nice power delivery when you wanted it, and it was nice and smooth, and I had no complaints. It was a beautiful bike, and it actually handled pretty good as well. It's very, very, very light and nimble, and I think in the city it's going to be a boon.
For our bike of the year, it's going to be a very strong contender also because of the price. It's very well priced in the Indian market.
Now the Gixxer is a lot of fun. It's the handling is one of the very impressive aspects of the bike, but here on these bumpy surfaces, it ended up feeling a bit twitchy.
When you ask me that question, it's tough, because I always want more power. The only thing that I didn't like in terms of styling was the headlight, but I think the choice is relative. So I think overall I didn't have any major complaints, but it's overall a really nice motorcycle.
Like Yamaha, KTM also knows a thing or two about winning Bike of the Year. Can the RC 390 repeat the success of its naked sibling?
Feels like a proper sport bike. Of course, the strong points still are the engine. The 390's engine is so powerful, and especially at the price point that it comes in, it's just incredible the kind of performance you're getting. On top of that, you also get, of course, ABS as standard, and the key thing being, as a sports bike, it really does deliver because it has the dynamics. It's got that sporting edge, which would be incredibly satisfying if you take this motorcycle out onto a racetrack.
Of course, it's a beautiful looking bike, and when you look at it, it wants to be on the track going fast around corners. With that, I think they've achieved what they set out to do.
Perhaps the one thing I found it came up short on was this bike is made for the track, and on a track you're looking for a high revving engine. Especially when you're mid-corner, you don't want to be shifting gears and running out of revs, and the RC 390 goes through its power band really quickly and hits the limiter.
The downside is, of course, that the RC 390 is a very committed motorcycle, so if people are intending to use it primarily for commuting, it's really not for that because of the aggressive seating position. You will find it a bit uncomfortable. That aside, the suspension setup, it has lesser travel at the front, which means on bad roads, which is quite a lot of our roads, you will have to be quite careful.
You ride any of the other offerings in the same 300cc, 250cc ballpark, you start thinking of how are they going to compete with the RC 390. I mean, you start wondering how are they going to beat this. The RC 390 is quite unbeatable in its class.
The jury rode the motorcycles and examined them in detail. Once satisfied, they hopped off their saddles and sat down to score the contenders in the various categories. It certainly looks like they had to give it a lot of thought.
Well, you've met all our contenders' cars and bikes, and you've heard what the jury has to say about them. Well, it's time for us to hear your opinion right now, because you can also vote for the viewer's choice Car of the Year or Bike of the Year. You can come and present the trophies with us at the awards ceremony. So get cracking. How do you vote? Information's on your screens right now.
So we're done with doing all our work here, and we're hoping you're going to be doing your responsibility, which is voting for the viewer's choice, of course. And finally, we will get to know which car, which bike gets the top honors at the grand award ceremony on the 9th of January.
So stay tuned, keep watching the Autocar show to find out which will be the Car of the Year or the Bike of the Year.